Hi guys, welcome to Film Factor Podcast. My name is Franz and we are back with a brand new episode. First of all, we'd like to thank our friends from Drinkies.ph for sending over some cold Heineken beer. Ayan. So, if you're down for some cold beer, do check out www.drinkies.ph. In fact, we have someone from Drinkies who will be speaking with us tonight. Miss Maika Singson. Hi, Maika. Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Hello.
You hear me? Yan. Hi,
Yes.
Maika.
Hello.
So yun, first of all, how are you?
I'm good. You?
Okay. So yun, how is Drinkies doing now that the lockdown and the liquor ban has been extended?
Actually, we're doing pretty well now despite the liquor bans in most of the areas of Metro Manila. Well, delivery right now is the way to go with the current situation. So, yeah, we're doing okay now.
Yeah, and just to clarify, people can still drink at home, right?
Yes, they can.
And I think that's one of the parang advocacies of Drinkies na you encourage people to be responsibly drinking at home, right?
Yes. That's right.
Okay. And for those who want to get their cold beer fix, di ba? Lagi sinasabi.
Yeah.
Drinkies is open, di ba? So how can they order beer?
We're open in limited areas like Makati
Okay.
and Taguig. Of course, some cities have liquor bans right now.
Okay.
But please do visit our website. So the list of the areas that we're available are there. And also, we have a Facebook page and Instagram, so you can follow us there. And then if you have any advisory, so like tomorrow and on April 10,
Born in Film and Drinkies has a promo code.
yes,
Diba? Ayun, for those who want a cold beer fix, you can go to drinkies.ph and type in the promo code Cheers BIF. Diba? That's CHEERS BIF. And
yes.
you just need to key in that code and the promo entitles you to a 200 pesos discount on your order. Just don't
Yes.
forget to drink moderately and responsibly. Okay?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Wait. What? Ayan. Okay. Thanks, Maika. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank
Cheers.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. So, let's go now to, yeah. Anyway, moving on. We know that you've been waiting for this. Joining us tonight is a landscape photographer who's won numerous awards in landscape photography. He has won awards from the IPA International Photography Awards, back-to-back from 2018 to 2019, awards from the TIFA, the Tokyo Foto Awards, and the EPSON International Pano Awards. So, let's get down to it. Please welcome Mr. Fitz Borre. Hi, Fitz. Hi, Fitz.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. Yon, so Fitz, just to
That was quite an introduction.
Oh. Ayun. So, just to get to it, how did you begin? How did you start in photography?
My background in photography goes way back. Nung una, it was mainly for taking snapshots or photos from the places
Yeah.
that I've been to.
Oh.
But eventually, when taking photos, it felt like I didn't give much justice to the place. So I yearned for some learnings on how to properly capture those photos. So eventually, it felt like my heart was in landscape photography itself.
Yeah, and since you've been traveling, 'di ba? It's parang nasabi mo nga sa akin na since you're also traveling for work, sinasama mo na rin yung travel, yung landscape photography, 'di ba? So,
yes.
What are some of the places? Can you name some of the places na napuntahan mo na?
Been to first yung Denmark. That's where I'm mostly I am deployed for work, and then
Okay.
the nearby countries, Austria,
Wow.
Switzerland, Slovenia, what else?
Mm-mm.
Sweden,
Mm-mm.
and those nearby countries. But outside Europe,
Mm-mm.
also been to Japan a couple
Japan.
of times,
Mm-mm.
and I keep coming back to Japan
Oo, ang ganda
for
kasi
photography.
it looks really talaga very beautiful in Japan. So, um since you mentioned those places, what were the most memorable place for you? Is there such a memorable place for you?
Um, I, I think each and every place that I've been to has its own memorable
Mm-mm.
moments, but probably Japan,
Oo.
because um, I went there last October 2018,
Yes.
mainly for the purpose of photographing
Yeah.
and connecting to myself.
Mm-mm.
So,
Yeah.
Japan, definitely Japan.
Japan. So, I think that's one of the photos that you sent us, di ba? Yung parang there was a boat, tama ba? Yung may yung Myojin
Yes,
Pond, tama ba?
yes,
Wait, let me...
yes, it's Myojin Pond.
Oo. Wait lang ha. Let me pull in the photos that you sent us para our viewers can see it. Wait, wait lang ha. Yan. You call this Myojin Pond, di ba?
Parang gitna siya mismo ng isang central park, national park in Japan. So it's a very big place. And then I happened to bump into this place. Then hindi ko naman siya necessarily pinuntahan yung specific na lugar na ito. May pupuntahan ako for a sunrise shoot, but the conditions weren't very promising. So dito ako napadpad sa lugar na ito.
Tsaka
And it
ganun.
was freezing cold. It was a negative temperature during that time.
Wow. Okay. So, eto Fitz, I think you sent a couple more pictures. I think this is yung lake. Wait, let me share it with the viewers. There, yeah. Eto Fitz, can you talk us through where you shot this? Yan, sige.
Yeah. Yan naman is was taken in Lake Bled in Slovenia. Little gem in Europe.
Okay.
I'd say this is probably one of the easiest shoots that I've done, mainly because the conditions were playing along with me.
Yeah.
Like it was perfect. I was just there waiting para mag-shoot. So it was almost effortless. The effort itself was waking up early or staying late. This was sunset, so staying a bit late.
Okay.
And don't be fooled by the colors. It was freezing cold also during that time.
It looks hot.
It looks warm.
Oh, it looks warm. Okay, so Fitz, we have a couple more pictures. I think this is Kagame. Kagame ba to? Yan, this one.
Yes, that was Kagame Eke. So that's part of a bigger body of work that I'm working on. It's called Moments of Fleeting Light. Contrary to what we usually see in landscape photography, contrary to the vast landscapes, this is a bit more on the intimate or tight shot.
Okay.
There's also in Japan. So there's what caught my interest for the patches of light peeking through the clouds and then illuminating certain areas of the landscape. So I focused on that.
And that's one of the most important things in landscape photography kasi you have to find the light, 'di ba? Yun yung lagi na sinasabi.
Yeah, well, that's one factor.
Okay. Tapos we have another one. I think this is from Switzerland, 'di ba? Matterhorn. This one.
Yes, Matterhorn. That's also a part of the moments of fleeting light. That light didn't even last 10 seconds.
What time was this?
That was sunrise shoot.
Sunrise.
So,
actually, ako naman when I was there, that's one of the problems kasi it depends if it's overcast or it's clear skies. Minsan may snowstorm, di ba? Yun yung problem. Pero sige,
Yes,
Fritz, maybe you can talk us through how you capture this, which part in Zermatt.
Yes, that specific mountain is called Matterhorn. You know, the Toblerone mountain
Yeah.
in the Toblerone chocolate. So kung ano yung nakikita natin usually for that specific place is the big picture of the Matterhorn itself, but
Yeah.
you can see a lot of those photos. So I focused on something that's a bit
Different.
that's unique, and then something that definitely caught my interest. That specific ray of light caught my interest. It didn't even last 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
A good thing I had my camera in my hand during that time.
And we'll talk more about your camera later on, di ba? So, ito pa, Fitz. We have another one. Wait, let me pull it
Yeah, sure.
in. Ito. Riffle Alp ba to? Riffle Alps, there. This one. Yan.
Yeah. Actually, Franz, those the last 3 images, they're the part of the Fleeting Light series.
It's a series. Okay.
Yeah. So all of them are the story itself are those the fleeting light moments, those lights that just passes by very quickly,
Wow.
and then illuminating the landscape itself.
Ganda. Oo. Ito pa, Fritz. Ito yung last photo that you sent us. Snowstorm ba to? Ano to? Storm ba to? Yeah.
Yeah. The one I sent you, those are actually 4 pictures with the same concept. I called it the Storm of the North. This was taken in Pangasinan, Patar Beach. So we planned there going for sunset shoot.
Okay.
But we ended up being hammered by this rain, storm clouds.
Wow.
So yeah,
Uh-oh.
those were 6, 7 or more feet tall.
Uh-oh.
So yeah. Another story about this photo is that I had my camera, but the shutter button wasn't working, so I had to take the photo using a remote shutter.
Remote shutter.
While hand holding
Grabe.
panning the
Parang hirap
shot.
na. Oh. Tapos, sige, go on.
Yeah. So it wasn't planned, but it turned out to be one of my favorite shots.
It looks similar, Fits, to the what artwork is that? Yung sa Japan, yung parang waves.
It's Hiroshi Sugimoto
yung ganda.
or Okiwe, the Great Wave of Kanagawa.
Kumbaga somehow it looks inspired, di ba? Ang ganda.
Yeah.
Okay. So, ito,
Thank you.
Fits. Let's now dive into cameras. Do you have your camera bag with you?
Yeah, I have my camera bag, but I essentially have the ones in my camera bag here.
Ayun pala, naka-setup na pala. Okay. So, he prepared for the camera. Okay, so Fitz, ito. I know you've been using a Fuji X-T2, right?
Yes, my workhorse.
Oo. So, can you tell us more about your experience with that camera?
Yes, I'm not very brand specific.
Okay.
I work with things that, the gear that works well for me. And I previously was using a DSLR, but it failed me on the field. So,
Okay.
ayun, I went for a camera na lightweight and
Okay.
Something that's weather sealed. And this camera has never failed me
Wow.
on the field. I've been working with this for I don't know how long already. 3 years something.
Wow.
And never did I experience any faulty or difficulties with the camera.
Kumbaga, that's your workhorse, di ba? Okay.
Yes.
So, a lot of people have been wondering what type of camera should they use in landscape. So, is there a particular preference? Like, for example, do you need to use full frame? Do you need to use mirrorless? Or do you need to use a crop sensor? So, yeah, maybe you can discuss it.
That's actually a hard question, but para
So,
sa akin, it's irrelevant if you know. It depends on the medium that you're planning to use your photo in.
okay.
For example, you want to use it for printing, what, 60 by 40, then
Yeah.
a 9 megapixel camera won't work.
Yeah.
So it highly depends on what you're gonna use your photo for.
So it really depends on your purpose. So yun yung lagi namin sasabi,
Yes.
intent and purpose, di ba? So
Yes.
if your
Always shoot with a purpose.
if your purpose is for exhibits, you need to shoot at high resolution, di ba? If your
Yes.
purpose is for magazines, di ba? It really depends on what your purpose is. So ito, Fitz, we know that as a landscape photographer, you have different tools that you use, di ba? So can you tell us the different tools that you use? Like, for example, filters, shutter release cables, tripods. Yun, maybe you can discuss.
Okay. The first thing that would come in my mind would be a tripod. Find yourself a good sturdy tripod. The one that won't fail you in the field. My experience in one time in Japan was having a tripod that was broken, so I had to tape the whole thing for several days. So a good sturdy tripod, that will be your friend. And another one is cable release. Definitely a cable release. Where is that?
Because in landscape,
Cable release.
that split second could ruin your image. It might get blurred, right?
Especially kung mahilig kayo sa mga long exposure
Long
types
exposure,
of photography.
right?
This is very useful. The slightest shake in your camera could impact the output. Another one are filters. So
Okay.
this, yeah,
Wow,
filters,
you have a
neutral
lot.
density filters.
Mm-hmm.
So this one they are used for making your images darker, so you can expose longer.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
long exposure photography. Also, if there's for example, highlights are too blown out, you can use them
You can
to
also
balance the exposure.
Yeah. And that's the most, kumbaga, for you, that's the most essential tools that you use. Okay. So, in terms of, Fitz, in terms of bags, for landscape or for traveling, what do you recommend? Sling bag or backpack?
Bag. I only have one bag. Okay. I've used a couple of bags,
Okay.
but the one that I have right now is a low pro flip. Not the flip.
Backpack.
Low pro.
Backpack.
Yeah, a backpack definitely. If you're going trekking or or hiking
Yeah.
for long distances, backpack is a good idea.
Okay. So, and also, Fitz, I know you've been telling
And also
me...
note that
Sige, go ahead.
I think there is no one backpack for all, so it
Okay.
depends on the situation.
So it really depends. Maybe if you're going to, for example, landscapes in a beach, di ba? Iba rin yung...
Yes,
For
exactly.
example, if you're going up the mountains, medyo high
Yes.
altitude, so you can't
Yes,
really use a
exactly.
sling bag for that, di ba? So, and of course, it also depends on your, intent and purpose, di ba? We go
Yes.
back to that. Yun,
So the
tapos-
one that's more comfortable for you,
Exactly.
that's the best camera bag.
Okay. Tapos yun, Fitz, I know you've been telling me that you'd love to relearn film photography kasi you told me that you started film in high school and now you want to rediscover it. So, can you tell us why?
Yes. During high school times, there's photojournalism nung panahon na yon.
Yeah.
Tapos gusto ko makasali, but due to, the reason being is yung economical reasons.
Yeah.
Walang pambili ng film
Mm-mm.
nung times na yon.
Mm-mm.
But I was definitely interested in photography that time already.
Mm-mm.
And then when I had the means of buying my own camera, I went for a digital camera. So yes,
Yun. So, and also, you told me that you're the ambassador of Haida Filters, right? Can you tell us more about Haida and what they offer?
yes. So this where is it? So this the set itself, this
Mm-hmm.
and a couple more. So Haida was generous enough to reach out to
Wow.
me and for sponsoring my gears.
Mm-hmm.
So filters, they're very essential in my type of photography, as I do a lot of long exposure photos.
Mm-hmm.
And then a good thing about this camera, they're made of glass, and they have zero color cast and
Wow.
very durable.
And I,
Considering that this is glass, it's very durable.
and I think that's one of the problems when you use filters. There are some filters that have color cast,
Yes.
diba? Mhm. And I think that's one of
So it,
your... Sige, go ahead.
yeah. Yung mga filters naman ngayon nakaka-adapt na sa mga ano kung ano yung needs ng mga photographer.
Yeah.
One good thing is that they listen to them.
Mhm.
The color cast is a big problem when it comes to post processing, and this filter is almost technically zero color cast.
Wow, grabe. So yun, Fitz, I have a question. For example, you're in a shoot, you're in a landscape shoot, and you can only bring 3 filters with you. So what will you bring? Yan, sige.
Yes. 3 filters. I'll probably bring one 10-stop filter, 10-stop neutral density filter, the one that I
Okay.
showed you earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And then the first one that I'll bring, sorry, would be a CPL polarizing filter, because hindi siya ma-recreate sa post processing. So
Okay.
you can only do that during shoot when using polarizing filters. Next one would be the 10-stop filter,
Mm-hmm.
and the third one a bit I'll weigh it out if I need a 6-stop or a graduated filter, but I'm leaning more on the 6 or 3-stop neutral density filters.
And of course, di ba, Fitz, when you go traveling, when you go landscape, you also need to look at the weather. Kasi it's
Yes.
important to know that if the weather will be clear skies, snowy, di ba? It depends on the weather, di ba?
Yeah.
So,
Dun actually magbabase yung planning mo kung ano yung mga idadala mo, kung ano yung mga essential tools for your shoot.
and it's really important to plan, di ba? As a photographer who
Yes.
does landscape, it's one of the, kumbaga, that's your first step always, di ba? Yun, so, eto pa, Fritz, one challenging question. If you can only bring one type of lens, what would it be and why? Kung isang
Yeah.
lens lang yung pwede mo dalhin.
That would be this specific lens. It's the 55 to 200, or what's that? 80 to 300 in full frame equivalent. So the reason being is the common errors I see with the ultra wide lenses are the edges are a bit soft, so you lessen those chances kung gamit mo is telephoto lenses.
Yeah.
If you need something na wide, you can always do a panorama,
Okay.
and then just
And that's interesting to know kasi I know most landscape photographers shoot with wide angle lenses, 'di ba? And that's one of the different
that's the norm.
That's a norm, 'di ba? So yon, why do you choose zoom over wide lenses?
Yes, because zoom for me is very flexible. If I need something wider, as I mentioned before, I can always do a panorama. And then it lessens the risk of having soft edges. You just need to find the sweet spot
Yep.
of your lens. And also because I do a lot of hiking and trekking, so when you're hiking, when you're in the mountains, it's not very efficient to use wide angle lenses. I'd rather go for tight shots.
Okay. Tapos Fitz, since we're talking about gears, it's also important to read through reviews, 'di ba, when buying a gear. So,
Yes.
ikaw, what particular things do you look for when reading a review? Ano yung mga importante sa na mga details?
Weight. Actually,
Sige.
that's one of the first things that I look for. Aside from, of course, the quality itself.
Okay.
The made of if it's made of glass or I mean if it's no not made of glass if it's too soft
Okay.
for that specific focal length. So
Have
but
you
the one thing na critical para sa akin is yung weight
wait,
and of course
okay.
the price.
Tama.
Yes.
Have you tried Fitz to use for example a vintage lens? Have you
A vintage lens haven't used it actually pero gustong-gusto kong i-try gumamit ng mga vintage lenses and
And it's
vintage cameras.
yeah, and it's for example, you use that to your camera, it's a bit cheaper, 'di ba? Yun. Anyway,
Yes.
oh,
May lenses din akong yung mga third party.
third party lens. Yeah.
Yes.
And eto Fitz, for those who have no idea what the difference between a CPL, a circular polarizing filter, an ND neutral density filter, and graduated neutral density filter. So ano yung mga difference nila? Maybe you can discuss?
Okay. Yeah. I can walk you through them. So neutral density filters they're commonly are like this.
Okay.
If you see it blocks the
light.
exposure itself. This is a 6-stop neutral density filters.
Yeah.
Makes your the exposure darker so you can go for a longer exposure. So ito is solid, and then we also have graduated filters. They are like this. So the stop itself is just from the top going down. It fades. Yes, and then this is good when using, for example, you need to balance out the exposure for the foreground and the sky. The sky is a bit overexposed, so this is also a good thing to bring. But honestly, you can do that if you're just bracketing your exposures. But this is also a good equipment to use for single shot exposures. And then neutral density filters.
Yeah.
Where's my neutral density filters? They're very much the same with polarizing filters, with the sunglasses. So it cuts through the haze. This is my polarizing filter right now. It cuts to the glare, and if you want to see the, the underneath the surface of the water, you're cutting through the reflection. You can use this. This cannot be, the effect of this cannot be replicated in Photoshop or in any post processing methods. So it's very essential.
Yeah. Okay. So, ayun, in terms of the difference,
Yes.
kasi diba, when you say circular polarizing filter, it's circular. So, do you recommend them to use
regarding
circular
that,
or square?
when you're buying filters, if ever you're planning to buy filters, I'd recommend these filters, the square filters, para magpapalit ka na lang. They have what they call filter holders. So what you can do is you can just pop this in front of your lenses, and then you can just buy the adapter ring, so that if you're using different lenses, you won't be buying different filters, because different lenses have their own thread.
Okay. So, for those who kasi I'm sure most of the people who buy this filter. So, yon, maybe you can tell us how they can purchase the Haida filters.
Okay. Uh, as of this as of this moment, we don't have a physical store yet, but
Mm.
we can order it. We have a local distributor here in the Philippines,
Ito si Go
so we can
Photo.
contact Go Photo.
Okay.
Yes, you can order it through there, and then um, you can also get a discount if you just refer that you just tell them that I referred them to you.
Wow. Ayun. Tapos, eto Fitz, the question na, I mean, let's move now to landscape.
Yes.
In terms of landscape photography, ano yung una mong hinahanap? How does your process go?
That's a hard question.
Sige lang. Ano yung,
um,
oo.
I don't necessarily have an immediate subject that I am looking for unless I have pre-visualized them. So if I have, I think the one good idea is to pre-visualize your output even before
Okay.
taking the shot, so that you won't be running around taking photos and then ended up with nothing that would satisfy your
Yeah.
it would satisfy you.
Mm.
So
And,
first and foremost, I think would be shoot with the purpose of shoot with a vision in mind, with an output in mind.
tapos, Fitz, why did you choose landscape over other genres? Like, for example, why not portraits? Why not studio? Yan. Sige, maybe you can discuss.
Um, a big part of it is because I love the outdoors. So photography aside, I can just go to these places and enjoy myself.
Oo.
Okay, and then um, uh, it's because in my work we are demanded. It's almost imperative
Mm.
that we are on top of the new technologies out there in the world.
Yeah.
Contrary to my so everything is fast paced. Contrary to my type of landscape photography, I like to take things slow. The process, the slow,
Yeah.
contemplated and methodical approach.
Mm.
So, and I can see myself doing that in landscape photography. Just waiting there in the field.
And yun, since you've been talking about landscape, what's in landscape that you love? I mean, what attracts you to landscape?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, I like going from one place to another. I like going to places. And then I like taking snapshots of those places. It was initially because I wanted to share it with my family, and then
Yeah.
I I couldn't give justice to the place, so I wanted to learn more, and then from there it evolved.
And I believe, there's also this distinct difference when you capture the light at a different place. Like, for example, in Europe, in Asia, and also the time zones are different. Like, for example, when you say sunset, it won't be sunset until 9 p.m., 'di ba? In certain places in Europe, 'di ba? So how do you adjust? And also, do you use it to your advantage? I mean, is it an advantage na you go to in the Europe kasi nga it's more the light is more diffuse? Yan. Sige, maybe you can discuss about.
You can use it in your as your advantage. It depends on how you use it actually. So in landscape photography, preparation is key. As you mentioned before, in Europe, sunrise can be around 3:30 a.m., 4 a.m. So you have to be prepared
Yeah.
hours before that. So you have to be out 2 a.m.
Really
So
early.
if you want to shoot sunset, sometimes in Europe sunset is 9, 10 p.m. So you have to be prepared for those scenarios.
Mm-mm.
preparation is key.
Yeah. And in terms of light, it's not as harsh here in the Philippines or in Asia, right? Because maybe it's the position of the sun, diba? Maybe that's an effect of the why.
That's one thing I've noticed when shooting there. The 12 noon sunlight isn't as harsh as here in Asia. The light there is a bit softer or a bit diffuse.
Okay.
So in terms of shooting, I don't necessarily see any difference on how you can adjust to those. Maybe you need to be prepared physically for that.
Oo. Ayun, Fitz, let's go now to photo contests. How do our listeners join photo contests? I mean, paano sila sasali sa photo contest? And what type of contest should they join?
What type? I can give a few insights pero hindi ganun ka extensive yung experience ko when participating in this contest.
Yeah.
So I can give a few pointers. Maybe one is to read the rules. I can't reiterate it enough. Read the rules. Different contests have their own rules. Another one is to stick with the theme. So even if you have something that you call a glory shot, maybe you're a bit attached to your shot. It doesn't necessarily mean that it would. And then you're trying to participate in a lot of contests using that shot. Doesn't necessarily mean that it will win something. So you have to stick with the theme.
Okay.
And then try and tell a story. Given the theme, try and tell a story with your photo. It's what attracts the judges. What else? Maybe the last thing would be do not be disheartened if you don't win any awards.
You can join again.
I think that's the most critical thing that you would take away from joining competitions. At the very least, you'll learn something. So just keep on joining them.
And I think important yun kasi there are some photographers that if they don't win a contest, they stop right there, diba? I mean, you don't take it as a negative way na you stop there, diba?
Yeah.
I think you should push yourself to win contests. Okay, yun, Fitz, I know many of the listeners have tons of photos. So, how do they choose the right photo?
First is to stick with the theme. So if the theme is, for example, trees, don't submit a photo of a butterfly.
Common sense.
So yes, and look for something unique within the theme. Okay. So with tons of images right now, it's hard to distinguish which is which. So try and look for something unique.
And maybe you can also research about the past entries that were sent. Maybe you can have an idea what the judges are looking for, diba?
Yes, exactly. I do know someone who even reads the background of the judges themselves.
Wow.
So just to look for what their preferences in photos are. So yeah, maybe that's one tip, but I don't do it.
And that's also interesting because if you win contest, it's a way for you to level up it's a way for you to gauge. I mean, in terms of your skills and your artwork, diba? So, yun.
You gain confidence.
Gain confidence, exactly. So, Fitz, you sent us a few photos here that won you an award. I think this one is from IPA. Ayan, this one. So, maybe you can...
That one actually was for the EPSON Pano Awards.
Pano Awards, okay.
Yes. the theme was, of course, panorama, but looking for something unique as a panoramic photo, that's also hard. This didn't win the top award, but it's still a win for me.
Okay.
I wanted to emphasize, the towering, bouldering Alps in the background, and then this small house being humbled by the background. So that's one thing that would emphasize a panoramic image. So when you say panorama, the big vistas. So the house there keeps it as a good subject matter to say that this is a bit wider in a sense.
And also you get to gauge the size of the object, diba? Since it's
Yes.
also big. Okay, Fitz,
Perspective, the perspective.
perspective, right. Tapos, you also sent us, I think these are the photos from IPA. Wait, let me pull it in.
Yeah. This one was 2018. This won the first in the nature category. Yeah.
What year was
So looking at this, it makes me realize how I try and shoot before. So this was 2018.
years ago?
Yeah.
So yun, Fitz, maybe you can discuss, was it hard to shoot this? Where was this taken?
Yes, that one was taken in Austria. It's called the Gusausi Lake.
Okay.
Gusau Lake. If you can see, there's that tiny house there. It's not actually tiny. That is a 3-story building. So it gives you a perspective of
How-
how nature is taking over the frame.
Oh. Okay, so we also have a last one. I think this one is 2019 na, right? This one, Fitz.
No, there was also 2018, but
2018.
that
Okay.
photo won second place, if I'm not
Mm.
mistaken.
Wow.
Second
What-
place, the same category with the
Mm.
the previous one.
Mm-mm.
So the category here was landscape and trees.
Landscape
So
and trees.
yeah, so the tree itself is the center of the frame. So emphasizing what the theme is,
Wow.
and then giving it a background, a sunset background. That's a sunset that's in Zambales and Sasako.
Wow. This was in the Philippines.
Yes, that's in the Philippines.
Wow. So, ang ganda. Ay, akala ko it was somewhere in Europe. Ganda. Nice. And also, the composition right there, the first thing you look for is the tree and the sunset. Di ba? Very
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah,
Yet it looks
when I was nung nandun ako mismo sa field, very obvious yung niya yung composition niya So trees, sunset.
Ganda. So, eto Fitz, since you've won the contest, ano yung first reaction mo? How did you react when you found out that you won? I mean, what was the experience like?
It was humbling, definitely a humbling experience for me. It made me look back to the other competitions that I joined and did not even get even an honorable mention.
Mm-hmm.
So when joining these competitions, there's level of awards and then there's honorable mention. I didn't even get that. So it's a humbling experience if you look back on the previous ones.
No. Hey, so moving on to post-processing, how is your workflow? I believe you told me that you shoot to process, di ba? And also, you also use masking, layering, di ba? So, in terms of the final output, what do you look for? I mean, how do the images need to look like? I mean, ano yung hinahanap mo? Yeah, maybe you can talk us through the process. Sige.
Okay.
How do you start?
First is first the output should be how you envisioned it to be.
Mm-mm.
not because sometimes in the middle of post processing we get sidetracked, and because for example you're trying to edit something and then you realize, oh, this is good, but it actually isn't the initial output that you envisioned.
Mm-mm.
So that's one thing to consider. Try and look back into the initial picture that you had in mind,
Mm-mm. So it's really
and
important to
don't
plan.
over process.
Don't overpro. I think that's one of the most important things in post processing. Sometimes people tend to over process their work.
Yes.
How do you say that it's I mean, when do you say that it's over processed? When it doesn't look natural, right?
Not necessarily,
Mm.
because if your photo doesn't look natural, but it's the way you wanted it to
Ah,
be,
yeah.
then that's okay.
Mm-mm.
So
So this is
um
where you mentioned, diba, that dati na you do masking. So it
yes,
depends na which ones are lighter. I mean, sige.
yes,
Go on.
uh for during shoot, for example, I don't I shoot to process. So what I see behind the screen of my camera isn't the final output.
Yeah.
So for example, I shoot three exposures. I bracket them. So I shoot
Mm-mm.
for the
Oh, sure.
highlights and the shadows, and then I merge them in Photoshop, so to get
Mm-mm.
the ideal lights
Exposure.
for certain spots. So yeah, I do them by masking in different layers in Photoshop.
So, yon. In terms of printing your work, the last episode was about printing. So, ikaw naman, where do you have your photos printed?
Um, I print them via Red Lab. It's a printing lab in Quezon City in the Philippines.
Mm-mm.
They're owned and managed by Red Ognita and Raymond Cruz. Both are also awesome fine art photographers.
Mm-mm.
Um, Safe to say and humble to say that I consider them as friends. And a good thing about them is that the print is what do you call them? Personal. So you can sit down and talk to them. What would be the most efficient for your print,
Mm-mm.
the paper, etc.
Mm-mm. Nice. So, yun. And also, Fritz, you have a workshop, right? So, can you tell us more about your workshop and how do our listeners can join to it?
Yes, thank you. I do have a guided photography trip in Japan this coming June. Considering that we still have the pandemic,
Yeah.
it's also up for reevaluation. But as of this moment, I think we're still pushing through with it.
Mm-mm.
So I will be guiding a group of photographers during that time,
Mm-mm.
and then June 6 to 12, I think. And then I also have other upcoming trips, but they're still on hold because
Mm-mm.
of this pandemic. I'll keep you posted with
Yeah.
those. I opened up one-on-one tutorial for
Mm-mm.
post processing.
Wow.
So, but I can only do them during weekends. I have a couple of them reserved for the next coming weeks, but they're still open.
Okay. So yun, Fitz, we have some few questions here that were sent to us previously before this interview. So let me read some of the questions that were sent on Facebook. This
Yeah,
one
sure.
is from Belrica Ma. She asks, is there a possible way to shoot nice water landscape photos without an ND filter? So yun, maybe Fitz, you can talk us through yun.
Um, it's case to case when you say nice.
Mm-mm.
But if you're referring to the effect that the ND filter gives, the long exposure shot, yes, that is very much possible. You can do them by merging them into Photoshop. So it's a post processing technique. So for example,
Yeah.
you need a 30-second exposure to flatten the water. You can take 10 3-second exposures and then merge them into Photoshop. That's very much possible.
Okay. And we also have another question. It was sent to us from Facebook. Juben Villaruel asks, which is more appealing for landscape photography? Portrait or landscape orientation? So yeah, ikaw Fritz, what's your preference?
Uh, I honestly prefer the landscape orientation, but I'm very much open to any orientation as long as it is justifiable. If it's
Yep.
good for the frame, it's good for the composition. So yeah, it's
It
actually
really
both.
depends. Depende talaga siya, no? So, and
Mm.
also, we have some friends who are calling in tonight. I'm not sure if you can hear. Hi, Angel. Angel, are you there? Angel?
Hello?
Ayun,
Hello.
so yan. So we have a phone-in question, Fitz, from Angel Castro. He's from
Hi.
Bulacan, Philippines. Hi, Angel. Maybe you can ask Fitz your question?
Hi, Franz. Hi, Fitz. Ganda ng lecture mo.
Hi.
Totoo lang.
Thank you.
Ayan,
Thank you.
bago ako magbola or anything, tanong ko lang kasi, you've told us na, syempre, planado yung pag kuha mo ng mga photos, and I was thinking,
Yes.
have you ever had some problems na yung tipong, ito yung ina-expect mo, but it turned out na iba yung panahon or something na hindi ito yung na-imagine mo pagdating mo sa area, and do you still shoot it, or what do you do?
Yeah. One good example for that is the photo that Franz displayed earlier, the waves. So when you're shooting landscape photography, as I mentioned before, preparation is key, but be open to the possibilities that is presented to you, because
This one, itong photo na to, Fitz.
yeah, we cannot control what the weather would bring us.
Yeah.
So this, for example, what we had in mind was sunset. So of my top 5 favorites of all time, of all my photos.
Mm-mm. So yun.
So there's no sunset there. So
Walang sunset pero it looks Yun, Angel, did that answer your question?
Yeah, and meron akong follow-up.
Okay.
yes,
Go on.
sure.
Go ahead.
Okay. About the contest,
Yeah.
di ba,
Yes.
how would they know na hindi manipulated yung photo masyado, or how much they allow you to manipulate or to post-process the image? Kasi nandiyan yung Photoshop, and you want to enhance some details, pero
Okay.
do they give kumbaga, ang tawag dito, criteria or limits, or paano nila nalalaman na legit yung image?
Okay.
How do they know na legit?
Yes, yung nabanggit ko kanina with regards to reading the rules. So if the competition didn't explicitly say na straight out of the camera, they won't even bother looking how badly manipulated or kung gaano ka siya ka manipulated. It's either no edit or with edit. So ang iba sinasabi nila na na global adjustment. If they give you those kind of rules, sometimes they ask for the raw images itself. So if yes, if they say that there's no limit to how you can edit your photos, then by all means use all the editing techniques you can apply. Pero there's also competitions wherein they say na no edit at all, straight out of the camera. So you should read the rules exactly, but then they can't really tell if it's edited unless they ask for the raw images.
Okay. Yun. So, Angel,
Okay
okay ba? I mean, did that answer your question?
Actually, nawala yung audio pag...
Ay, okay. Sige.
Ah,
So yun,
Sorry,
sabi,
sorry.
sige, I'll read it through. I mean, I'll repeat it. Sabi ni Fitz, you really have to look at the rules of the contest.
Rules.
Did that answer?
So that's really important. Okay, so do you have any other questions? Wait, medyo nag-feedback tayo. Medyo may delay tayo, Fitz. Wait lang.
Yeah, okay lang.
Wait lang. Yes. So while Angel is waiting for...
Do you have any other questions?
Nag-feedback, sorry.
Nag-feedback pa.
Oo. Live. Medyo may delay lang. So,
hello?
Angel, sige. Go ahead.
I think sa ngayon okay na yun and marami na siyang input actually na ibigay. So, medyo nag-overload nga eh. At puro theoretical at hindi pa kami makalabas ng bahay. Lahat tayo.
Oo nga, lahat tayo. Okay.
Yan. But, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you very
Angel.
much.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So yun, ito, Fitz, we have a few more questions sent to us from
Sure.
Facebook. Ito si Jovan. He asks, how to maximize negative spaces in landscape photography? What's the best way to do it?
How to maximize? Okay. Okay. This is one type of photography also that I am still learning, and also I can say struggling on how I can maximize those. But what I learned is to differentiate what negative space is and what empty space is. So find a good subject matter, and then try to eliminate all those distracting elements. The subject matter is what's important. I think I sent you one photo, Franz.
Which
wherein,
one?
My friend was just standing in the middle of the field.
Which one? Let me look for it. Ano yung title? Para
It's Islands, I think.
Islands. Let me look for it. Wait lang ha.
Stockholm Islands.
Islands. Let's try to look for it. Anyway, sige Fitz. Discuss mo lang. I'll look
Anyway.
for it. Sige.
Yes. That is essential. We're looking for a difference between an empty space and a negative space, and then make use of your the subject matter. The point of interest.
Point of interest. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And eliminate the distracting factors around it.
Is it dito sa Tokyo ito pala yung Tokyo Photo Awards mo. Sorry, hindi ko naipasok. Wait, sorry.
Okay lang.
Anyway, there. Ayun.
Anyway, you can.
We have another. We'll share the photos later after this live.
Okay.
We have another question from Jovan again. I think this is a follow-up question. He asks, could it be possible to make one subject stand out? I think ito na yata yung question niya kanina. Wait,
yeah.
tama ba? Could it be possible?
Iba siya pero
It's similar.
Pa rin yung ano.
Oo nga.
Pa rin
Anyway,
yung sagot ko.
Anyway, you've answered naman na the question. Okay, so I think we have another caller here. Let's try to check. Lali, can you hear us? Hello?
Hi.
There. So we have Lali
Hi.
here.
Hi.
Yan. So Lali, I think you have a question for Fitz.
Yes. So, what's the most debated thing about landscape photography, and which side are you on?
Meron bang debated, Fitz? I mean...
I can think of a few.
Sige.
Yeah. Pero the most debated would be if it's manipulated or not. Yeah. And manipulation actually varies on how you look at it. Sometimes you can shoot a photo that kung halimbawa minsan nag-shoot tayo ng picture pero naka-apply na sa sa camera natin
Camera
yung
itself. Yeah.
let's say filter. So I'm on the side of choosing what is what you want your output to be. Kung halimbawa gusto mo yung kulay ng ulap ay green, then go for it.
Kayo mong green.
As uh, as long as you can justify them, huwag ka lang magsinungaling.
Okay. And I think it's also important to say it right there and there when you send the photo that
Yes.
you
Yes.
did
It's edited or manipulated.
Yeah. So, kumbaga, you really need to be honest.
I mentioned before that I shoot to process. So, you can call all my images edited.
Edited, yeah. Hey, so Lali, do you have any other questions?
Yes. The other one is, given that appreciation for photos and beauty in general is about the matter of perception. So how can we say na you can improve in landscape photography? Is there a benchmark for it, or it's just really a matter of perception?
Medyo mahirap. Ako rin, Lali.
For me, it's a matter of perception. The baseline would be if you try and look back on your previous photos. I did it a couple of times myself, and you can see how much you have improved. And then, yeah, as long as you're happy with how your images look like, that's the most important. Yeah.
Okay ba yun, Lali? Did that answer your question?
Yeah, may lag lang on the.
Yeah. So medyo may delay kasi.
But anyway.
Oo, sige, go.
Yeah. The last question is, so aside from being passionate in photography and all the technical know-how of camera usage, lens, and guidelines in photography, what do you think yung skill na isa sa mga pinaka-importante to have when it comes to landscape photography?
Pinaka-important.
Yeah. I believe it's the type of storytelling that you want to emphasize. Yeah, technical settings aside, I have this quote that I got from my favorite wildlife photographer. He said that to abandon all the rules in photography, the only rule that you should think of is to tell a story that deeply satisfies you.
Wow.
So it's the other things are just a matter of creativity. So first and foremost, it should satisfy you.
So yun, Lali. Are you good?
Yeah, I'm okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Lali. Thank you for
Thank
calling. Thank you. So ito, Fitz, we have a few more questions. Let's try to read them. Ito, si Jovan na naman. May question na naman si Jovan. What is the best lens to use to achieve the concept of your framing and composition? Is 35mm enough? So, okay na ba daw yung 35mm for you?
Oh. Speaking of 35 mil, this is also one of my favorite lenses. This is a 35 mil in crop sensor 35 mil.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't distract a lot of it, because this is a very fast lens and very light. So I like bringing this along. So this is very good, much good for landscape photography. As long as it's within the composition, the image that you have in mind, that's okay. So yeah, I'm not a fan of wide angle lenses nowadays.
And I think kumbaga everybody does wide angle landscapes. I think it's also a way to distinct yourself among the others, right? Yun. So
gusto ko din yung wide na framing, the grand vistas. I like them. I really like them, but I like them using telephoto lens para wala yung mga soft edges, di ba? Yung kung napapansin yung merong elongated yung edges, mga bato-bato sa landscape.
Yeah, oo. Kumbaga they're a bit distorted, tama ba? I mean,
yes, exactly.
Nagiging distorted.
Lens distortion,
and
so
I think
you can eliminate those using telephoto lenses.
Right. Yon. So, ito Fitz, we have our last question from Liza Rodriguez. She asks, when is the best time to take landscape photos with a good natural lighting? So, I think, ayun, maybe you can discuss the difference siguro in terms of lighting. Yung kanina, yung diniscuss mo. I think since also we discussed na kanina, maybe you can discuss na lang dito sa Philippines. I mean, what's your preference in terms of capturing landscapes here in terms of time?
I like it all throughout the day.
Yeah.
Actually, so in terms of sunrise, if you're not a fan of waking up very early,
Yeah.
so I don't think that sunrise is a good time for you. So it's totally dependent on you as a person, or if what your preferences are and what works well for you. In terms of the lighting itself, all throughout the day is good for me.
So
Kung halimbawa yung yung quality ng light, yung probably yung blue hour, hindi na ako na masyado nag-shoot din kasi yun nga, it tends to be a bit murky.
Okay. So ito, Fitz, we're down to our last segment. Maybe you can just to wrap things up, do you have any advice to those who are listening to us?
Advice.
Advice.
For those who wants to try landscape photography, for beginners especially, my best advice would be just start doing it. You'll fail a lot. Yeah. In fact, you'll fail multiple times, but you will definitely learn. Also, don't hesitate to ask questions from other photographers, even if they'll probably give you an advice or two.
Yeah.
Also, try joining photo workshops, photo safaris. Not necessarily workshops. Sometimes I organize photo safaris. We just nag-chip in lang kami, hati-hati, KKB, kumbaga. So you have people around you have the same mindset para the creative circle, it helps.
And maybe we can
And
organize
last
that.
but not least,
Sige, go
don't
ahead.
forget to have fun. That's the most important one.
Yeah. Yun yung pinaka-important. And maybe we can organize that within Photo Nation, diba? So we get the people to join you in a photo safari.
Yes, definitely.
Diba? So yun, eto Fitz, for those who want to see your photos, let me show your website here. So yun, maybe you can tell them where to go, how they can find you.
Yeah. So my website there, that's fitzborre.com. So I divided them into two: my colored landscape and then black and white. Also have those images are my images that the images that I published there are also up for prints for sale, so limited edition prints. So yeah.
And you also have your Instagram. It's at Fitz. Paano ba? Bor or Bore? Bore, no?
Borre.
Okay, Bor. Yeah, ito Fitz. Maybe you can invite them to join, to follow you on Instagram. Yeah, so if you want to see his
please
photos.
do follow me on Instagram, Fitz Borre. That's straightforward.
Ayan, ito, Fitz Borre. Okay, so ang ganda ng mga photos ni Fitz. So if you're on Instagram, just look for Fitz Borre. That's FITZBORRE. Yan. So do follow
Thank you.
him. Ang ganda ng mga photos niya. So if you want to be inspired, ako I look at Fitz photos kasi ang gaganda talaga. Ito oh.
Thank you.
Okay. Yan. So yun. So let me just to close everything off. Okay, so I think that's all the time we have for tonight. Thank you, Fitz, for joining us.
Thank you.
Yan. So
It was
thank
a
you.
pleasure.
Oo. So salamat, Fitz, ha. So maybe we can do the photo walks maybe after the lockdown para medyo
Definitely.
available na lahat.
Uh,
Okay, so
yes.
yun. Thank you, Fitz. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you. Okay, so and that was Film Factor. So join us again next time. Do follow us on social media at Born in Film on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Subscribe to our Spotify. You can go to bit.ly/Film Factor. You can also go to YouTube. It's bit.ly/watch Film Factor. We will be leaving you with this song from Chantal Crevajuk. Medyo mahirap i-pronounce. My name is Franz. This is Film Factor. And thank you for joining us tonight.